Hi students, welcome back. How are you? I hope everyone is still doing well and is healthy, staying home as much as you can, wearing a mask when you go out, okay? We are going to continue today. First, we are going to check the homework. So if you do not have your workbook ready, get your workbook so we can go over the homework together. Going over the homework is good practice of the things we are learning. So get your workbook. And we will also talk about some new words, okay? Some new words. So let's get started. So you should have out your workbook. I also want you to get out your notebook. This way you can write down any new words that you want to write down, okay? So get out your notebook and your workbook. We did pages 98 and 99 in the workbook. So that is what we are going to go over. There were some words in the workbook that maybe you don't quite understand. So I want to start by going over those words first. Now remember, some of you have this workbook and some of you have this workbook. So some of the answers might be just a little bit different with the year. I will point that out to you. But go ahead and turn to page 98 and 99. And let's talk about some of the words. So at the top of page 98, they say, read Michael's employment history. At the top of page 98, it says, read Michael's employment history. Employment. Well, what does that word mean? We haven't talked about the word employment. But employment is another way to talk about having a job. Okay, it's another way to talk about having a job. If someone asks me, do you have any employment? They're asking, do I have a job? They might say, are you employed? Okay, another way to say that, are you employed? Which means, do you have a job? So when we see employ or employment, it is things having to do with a job. So here are some examples of how you might hear the word employment. What is your place of employment? What is your place of employment? What they are asking me is, where do you work? What is your place of employment is the same question as, where do you work? Another example, tell me about your employment history. Tell me about your employment history. So in this example, again, employment history is the history of you having a job. So if someone asks you about your employment history, you are going to tell them all the jobs that you have ever had, okay? So employment has to do with having a job. So there's two other words that I want to tell you that have that same word employ in them. Employer is the person or place that gives you a job. The person or place that gives you a job. So you can always write down these words in your notebook if you want to. These were not part of the vocabulary in the unit, but they are words that maybe you want to write down so you don't forget them. Okay? Employer, the person or place that gives you a job. And if you have an employer, then you are an employee. An employee is a person who works at a place. Okay, a person who works at a place. I am an employee at Mommy and Me School. I am an employee there. They are my employer. Here's an example. Sung is a cashier at Walmart. Okay, so Sung is a cashier at Walmart. She handles the money. Sung is Walmart's employee. She is an employee. And Walmart is Sung's employer. Okay, so the employer is like the boss, and the employee is the worker. The employer, the boss, the employee, the worker. Okay, that's a little bit easier way to understand it. So let's go ahead and look at Michael's employment history. This is Michael's employment history from page 80. Sorry, I can't remember the page now. From page 98 in the book. Okay, from page 98 in the book. So, read with me, check your answers. We're going to be putting in the correct form of the verb they give us. Okay? What makes this hard is like the reading that we did in the last video, where we are practicing sometimes the words will be in present tense, sometimes we will have to put them in past tense. So let's start. Michael Bitter is a medical assistant. He, blank, at Valley Medical Clinic. So they are talking about right now because it says he is a medical assistant. So he works at Valley Medical Clinic. He started in 2017. He started in 2017. And now they're going to tell us some of the things that he does. Are we going to put these verbs in present tense or past tense? We're going to keep all of these verbs in present tense because this is what Michael is doing today. Okay, this is his job that he has now. So these will be in present tense, okay? Remember, when we have present tense and it's he or she, we need to add an S to the base verb to make it present tense for he or she. So in the beginning, he works with an S. So all of these present tense verbs for Michael will have an S. Don't forget your S. So he started in 2010. He makes appointments for patients. He answers the phones and takes messages. He prepares the patients and assists the doctors. Okay, all of those are in present tense. They all ended with an S. Do you remember your S? Very good. Let's keep going. From 2003 to 2015, Michael, and now they've switched. We were talking about what his job is right now as a medical assistant. Now they're talking about from 2003 to 2015. So that is in the past, okay? That is in the past. It's already happened. It's 2020. So Michael, what did he do? He worked. Remember, most regular past tense verbs, or all regular past tense verbs, end with ed, okay? So a lot of times our past tense verbs will end with ed. We do have some irregular past tense verbs. There are actually a lot of irregular past tense verbs, and you just have to learn those and practice them. So in this case, worked, regular past tense verb, ed. He had 2 jobs there, okay? So he had 2 jobs at this pizza restaurant. From 2011 to 2015, he was a cashier. He was a cashier. He handled money and operated the credit card machine. From 2003 to 2011, he was a bus person. So in that paragraph, we find out about Michael working at this pizza restaurant, Freshies. He had 2 jobs there. What were they? Well, he was a cashier and he was a bus person. Okay? Now we're going to go on to the 3rd paragraph, which talks about Michael at another time in his life. So let's keep reading. Michael went to Westport Community College from 2015 to 2017, okay? So now we're switching to went because it's still past tense, 2015 to 2017, and the past tense of go is went. He, and what is the past tense of be? We have already seen it a couple of times. He was a full-time student in the Medical Assistant Certificate Program. He graduated with an ED. Remember, if the word ends with E already, you don't have to write another E. You're just going to put the D on. So he graduated in June 2017. In June 2012, he got his GED at Staples Adult School. Remember, get is an irregular past tense verb, and the past tense of get is got. So how did you do? I'm sure you did great. If you were working in this book, it should look exactly the same. If you were working in this book, the verbs are the same, and the story is the same. The only thing that is a little bit different are the dates, okay? So you had different dates, but the same story. So now we are going to answer some of the questions that went with the paragraph. Okay, so let's look at number 1. The question asks, when did Michael start his job at the medical clinic? So that's a when question, when. So we know we're looking for something that has to do with time, okay? When did Michael start his job at the medical clinic? And they answer it for you. He started his job at the medical clinic in 2017. In 2017, okay? If you have the dark blue book, like this one, the answer was 2008, okay? So only a couple of these have a different year. The year for this one was 2008. Now, notice when I give you the date in English, I wanted to point this out. Sometimes I say 2017, sometimes I say 2017. Really, you can say either in English. So you can choose. We can say that it is 2020, or we can say that it is 2020. So I will go back and forth and use both of them, and either is correct. So I just wanted to point that out to you, a little bit of English to know. Let's look at number 2. Where did he work for 12 years? Well, he had 2 jobs working at Freshy's Pizza. Do you remember that? Working at Freshy's Pizza. So for 12 years, he worked, past tense, at Freshy's Pizza. What did he do from 2015 to 2017? And again, if you're working with the older book, the question is, what did he do from 2006 to 2008? So we need to find what he did for those 2 years. And when we look back at the story, we find out that he was a student, okay? He was a student. And where did he study for his GED? Where did he study for his GED? So where, again, that's going to be a place. Where goes with a place. And so let's look at the answer. He studied for his GED at Staples Adult School. I see that in the very last line. He got his GED at Staples Adult School. And then when did he get his GED? Again, when and a year. When goes with a year or sometime. So he got his GED in 2012. And if you have the older book, he got his GED in 2003, okay? And our last one, where does he work now? Well, where, again, another where question. And now he works at Valley Medical Clinic. It tells you that in the very first paragraph at the top. He works at Valley Medical Clinic. Okay, so let's keep looking at the homework. So now they are asking us to rewrite the sentences using simple past tense. So let's look at number 1. It says, I prepare food, but I don't clear the tables. I prepare food, but I don't clear the tables. So we need to change those verbs from present tense, prepare, and don't clear, to past tense. So how can we do that? I prepared food, but I didn't clear tables. So again, this is a but statement. I, yes, prepared food, but I didn't clear tables. Okay, and we had to change prepare to prepared with an ED, and don't to didn't. And then notice didn't is followed by the base verb. Let's look at number 2. I handle money and talk to people every day. So to make those both past tense, not too hard because they're both regular verbs. I handled money, ED, and talked to people every day. So she did both of those things, okay, or he did both of those things. 2 things, and. I help the nurses, but I don't help the doctors. So how can we make that past tense? I helped the nurses, but I didn't help the doctors. This is a great example because we can see for the yes sentence, I helped the nurses, helped ends in ED. But I didn't help the doctors, a no sentence, when we have didn't, it's already doing all the work of past tense for you. You keep base verb after that. But I didn't help the doctors. Okay? Number 4. I take care of my children and my house. Again, it's an and statement doing both things. Let's look at how to move that to past tense. Take is an irregular verb in the past tense. Do you remember what it is? I took care of my children and my house. Number 5. I clear tables and handle money, but I don't prepare food. So let's see. Clear tables and handle money. That's 2 things, and, okay? I clear tables and handle money, but I don't prepare food. I cleared, past tense, tables and handled money, but I didn't prepare food. And number 6, the last one. I operate large machines and build houses. An and sentence. And when we put it into the negative, into the past tense, when we put it into the past tense, I operated large machines and built houses. Let's take a minute to look at build. Okay? Build in the past tense is built. That's an irregular past tense verb that we haven't used very much. But in present tense, I build houses. In past tense, I built houses. Can you say built with me? Built. So this last section, you had to look at the sentences that we just read and match those sentences with the picture. It is like a riddle. Do you remember we did riddles about ourselves? Like I could say, I have curly hair, I have brown eyes, and I'm a teacher. Who am I? That is a riddle. We talked about riddles when we were describing people. So now they give you a clue and you have to figure out who the person is. So let's look at the first one. The first one told you, I prepare food, but I don't clear the tables. So who is that? And they tell you, B, number 1, cook. Number 2 says, I handle money and talk to people every day. So who handles money? It's D, the cashier. Number 3, I help the nurses, but I don't help the doctors. So let's see, who helps the nurses, but not the doctors? Yeah, it's A, the orderly. Number 4, I take care of my children and my house. I take care of my children and my house is F, the homemaker. Number 5, I clear tables and handle money, but I don't prepare food. Well, who clears the tables at the restaurant? C, the bus person. Okay? And we have one more. Who builds houses and operates large machines? Yes, it is the construction worker. E, construction worker. So, that's it for today. We were just reviewing the homework. It's always great practice to go over that together. I want you to go ahead and pause the video, and you can try to do this activity by yourself. It says, look at the chart and correct the false information in the sentences. So number 1, for example, says, Paulo works at Tito's Cantina. So I go and I look at Paulo, and it's telling me that right now, in the present, he works at Mom's kitchen. See how it says works in the present tense? Well, he doesn't work at Tito's Cantina. He used to work there in the past. Now he works at Mom's kitchen. So they change it to Paulo works at Mom's kitchen. You need to look at numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5 and try to figure out what do you need to change. You have to change what is underlined, okay? So in number 2, he was a bus person in 2010. Well, what did he do in 2010? Was he a bus person? Try and complete the activity. We'll go over it in the next video. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.